Consider this your trigger warning. The following program is strictly satire and is not meant to be taken seriously. So don't get all butthurt, you liberal snowflakes, just because we skewer your sacred cows and expose all your lies and hypocrisy. Truth hurts, and so does satire. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome back to Sunday Night Live. And it is the zoo, meaning we got YouTube, we've got thepreparedmind.club, and we got subscribestar.com. And we are going to kick off this week with two big donations, two big questions from my favorite two big sponsors. Actually, we've got a ton of sponsors. I can't say anyone's my favorite or who's the biggest because it gets crazy. And without you guys getting crazy in your own good kind of way, right, we wouldn't be here. So I want to thank all of you guys for all you do. Whether your donation's small or huge, it doesn't matter. Everything is support, and it shows other people that it's not just me. It's not just a few radicals. It's men, it's women, it's Canadians, it's Americans, it's black, it's white. It's about freedom and more freedom, I tell you. So let's start off with this. Oh, and of course, any donation that's $50 or more buys me a Glenlivet 15-year single malt scotch. And we're going to start with Darcy T this week, who's doing a Glenlivet 15 with me, for me, about me, whatever you want to call it. And this will lubricate the gears and get things turning. And we got a lot to talk about on this Sunday Night Live. So, hey, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and share that internet address right up there. Here's to you, Darcy T. Thank you. $50 super chat donation. And this is what Darcy wants to talk about. Sunday Night Live is your show. You guys get to pick every topic. I've got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but as soon as super chats come in, man, Jolene, they get them up on the board and we talk about what you want to talk about. So Darcy starts this week and she says, since Trump was convicted, and by the way, I hadn't had a chance to preview this yet. Since Trump was convicted, no doubt he will appeal. The appeals process can be lengthy. So what do you see happening for the election if it's not overturned? The Republicans have no other viable candidate, and I haven't seen anyone emerging on the Democrat side either. Do you think we'll see 4 more years of Mr. Potato Head? And I caught a news story, Darcy, with respect to will someone else run other than Biden? And the Democrat mouthpiece said, no, it's going to be Biden. 0% chance it's anyone else. That tells me they have, as you put out, no other viable candidate, period. Gavin Newsom is a giant loser. He has no nationwide appeal. Michelle Michael Obama, the only group that would like her would be, I guess, the LGB crowd because they like her bulge. Literally, not a good candidate, not tested publicly, no experience, just nothing. Scripted, maybe yes, but off the cuff, no, and no. No, and no. Now, let's continue with your great question to start the show off. The appeals process can be lengthy, you wrote. So you're concerned that they won't get through the appeal before the election. I have zero fears there. While for normal humans, the appeals process can be lengthy. When it comes to questions that are very much on the public's mind, courts will address them quickly. And I will point even to the Supreme Court of the United States. They can act very quickly. So what would have happened? And in fact, I'm going to go this far. Even though I do not know for certain, I will submit that even before the verdict, Trump's attorneys were talking to the Supreme Court and other appellate bodies in the judiciary about appealing the decision should any guilty verdict come down. I believe that 100%, that they were already talking, and it's called strategy. You don't wait until you're knocked to the ground to try and figure out what to do when you're on the ground. You anticipate, well, I might get knocked to the ground. So if I'm down there, I'm going to kick up into the scrotum area, right? So this is what I think has happened. Is the Trump team, they knew that they're getting hammered. I mean, from Alvin Biggs or whatever the hell his name is, Bragg, the fat dude from New York City, the prosecutor, to the judge Merchan, a smirking, smarmy dude, to the jury pool, which are hand-selected New York liberals. You had to guess that at least one felony charge was going to come down. So that's exactly what the Democrats want. They want to say Trump is a convicted felon. Because they're, well, now. So I think that, yes, either an appellate court will hear this immediately, or it'll go right to the Supreme Court, who probably already has an answer. It's not that this proceeding has been secret or quiet. It's just there have been, I read one article said, 34 separate and distinct constitutional procedural violations. Constitutional and procedural violations. So did that number 34 happen to match the other one? I'm sure they tried, right, to make the numbers match. But yeah, every single one of them. So as far as the Republicans having another viable candidate, I do believe that Governor DeSantis is a viable candidate. And I could cite his debate with Governor Gavin Gruesome Newsom. And he mopped the floor with him. But be that as it may, we've got some problems, folks, and they're bigger than just, I think, Trump's ability to get in front of an appellate or the Supreme Court for his appeal. The problems are bigger. Just like everything else that happens in Washington, D.C., what they do, they know is unconstitutional, yet they do it anyways. They commit crime after crime after crime against the American people by violating their oaths and passing rules and laws that violate the Constitution. And they know better, but they do it anyway. So if they do that through the legislative branch, wrongfully persecuting people through the judiciary branch is something they're going to continue to do as well, knowing it pays them well and it scares everybody because it is a very, very expensive proposition to deal with. An unconstitutional bit of legislation can be challenged and taken care of in less than a year in most cases. And it doesn't take nearly as much money as fighting, not as a group of Americans pooling our money resources and fighting an unconstitutional bit of legislation. When the government comes after you with the judiciary, a district attorney or an attorney general's office, it's just you against an entire branch of government and only your resources instead of the resources of hundreds and thousands of Americans. It's just you all alone. And that's a huge difference, is they have now set the precedent. I do not see 4 more years of Mr. Potato Head. I really think that we, and I'm going to use the slogan created by others, can make the turnout for Trump too big to rig. The reason I say that is we have to turn out for that. Don't just go, hey, red wave, we got this, and then not show up. The idea is to show up, vote, and make it so big and overwhelming, it cannot be denied. It can't be beaten. Anyways, Darcy, great topic. Great super chat donation. Now, let's do another one, shall we? It is Chin Music with a $52.43 super chat donation. So, 50 for the shot of scotch and a 243, which is one heck of a caliber, a good flat shoot and a hot bullet, good for mid-sized deer, varminting. and a number of other things that I'm not going to mention at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chin Music. Semper Fi to you. And keep working out, man. Keep working out. Ooh, woo! There it is. Wow. Okay. That was something. Okay, so Chin Music writes this. Now, stand fast, folks. I didn't have a chance to review this, so we're going to get right into it. When the law breaks the law, there is no law. We should be prepped already, but the mental prep needs to go into overdrive. None of us are advocating this, but you know the next step in this process of political persecution is violence, and I agree with you 100%. It always is, says Chin Music, and I agree 100%. Any of us who've read a book know this, and I agree with you 100%. Know your friends. Figure out the terrain around you, and for God's sake, get some training, any training. I've been training weapons hand to hand and in the gym for almost 10 years now, and I still feel the need to get better. Time is short. And Semper Fi, says Chin Music. Well, Chin, thank you for the great super chat donation, the great drink of scotch there. And I cannot argue. I cannot argue with that. I am not advocating for violence or for insurrection or for any sort of illegality. But when the government is lawless, it is going to take an act of lawful behavior to correct the government. Okay? So when you said that when the law breaks the law, there is no law. That's correct. The government is now outlaw. And that's not a good thing because it still has the resources, from weapons to the use of money to the appearance of legitimacy in the courts and the use of the police powers. That's exactly what has happened with the weaponization and politicization of our legal system. They've weaponized it. It's not bullets, it's not bombs, but look what it has done. It has taken an innocent man, thrown on some pretended crimes that aren't even stated properly, and then prosecuted and found guilty for the purpose of putting him in jail so he cannot run as president. You want to talk about election interference, electioneering? It goes beyond the smell test. It is beyond putrid. It's bad. Now, we should be prepped with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Yes. But it is the mental prep, as you point out, Mr. Music. It's the mental preparation. We need to understand, right, what comes next. What happened in the Soviet Union or Russia before the Soviet Union came into being? There was a bunch of radical communists who used youthful insurgents to take over, and they infiltrated the military and took over. Does this sound familiar to you? We have radical political scumbags in DC, and they have infiltrated the colleges and schools and created radicalized youths that hate free America and want to change it. The military was radicalized by Obama, the first fruitcake to really get into the White House and change things. And now we have people wearing puppy dog masks in uniform, openly transgender officers in the Pentagon. Unbelievable. Yet it's real. They're radicalized. Very much so. So we need to understand which way the wind is blowing from, Mr. Music. We saw what happened. The world has recorded what happened in Russia. It was turned into It went from protests and it flipped like that to violence. These violent Bolsheviks, or college students, if you will, communists, they broke into the royal mansion, right? Okay. Tsar Romanov, the family, like they're kind of like the royals. They're the kings, king and queen. Just like in England, they're king and queen. They broke into the royal house and they killed everyone. They stabbed the daughters, everybody in Tsar Nicholas's family with bayonets, and then shot them to shit, literally. It was a massacre. And then the Russian people were massacred until they were finally subdued by the commies. And then the Soviet military executed all of their radical youths that did not conform to the standards that they needed. Remember, rabid dogs are useful for attacking people. Rabid dogs do not make good servants or followers. They're rabid, so they get killed. Hitler had something similar. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Hitler had something similar. He had his Hitler Youth. He had his brown shirts, and both were radicalized groups that helped terrorize the people into subjugation. There, Hitler, who was chancellor, it's kind of like president, chancellor, proclaimed himself the Führer, the boss, dictator, when the Congress burned to the ground, the Reichstag fire. They took over the country through, well, executive order, if you will. Now that he was chancellor, the Führer, the dictator, Hitler, everything was executive order from there on out. That is what we're facing with Biden and the White House. We could have any time now, Mr. Music, a massive false flag, whether it's an attack from a foreign enemy or open, shall we say, Mad Max violence from within. And he could proclaim, well, we're going into war powers. We have a domestic insurrection. We have huge fighting, right? Martial law type time. That is a possibility, not a probability, but a possibility. But as preppers, we need to be ready for what is possible. And it's the same stuff: food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and your plan. You have that setup covers you for everything. But as you pointed out, mental prep. What is it going to be? Right? It's kind of hard to fake a comet slamming into the earth, but they can do a massive false flag, and they have in the past. And it is not beyond the realm of possibility that they go that way. Now, there's one last little bit here I want to touch on before I get to the super chat donations that you guys have. And it's this. Governor DeSantis, because this kind of speaks back to Darcy T's comment, question, super chat, donation. DeSantis responded to the guilty verdict against Trump, and he called the whole thing a, quote, kangaroo court. Now, number one, kangaroos are very upset by this. They're tired of their civilization being referred to. Anyways, seriously, DeSantis knows if they can do this to Trump, they can do it to Governor DeSantis. DeSantis cannot be a candidate for the president of the United States if at any one point in time, either within a state and a city or the federal government, they can arrest DeSantis. They can make up crimes. They don't have to be honest. They don't have to find something, even though they can look and look and look and look and look and look. And that's the thing about Trump, is they've had to look and make shit up. Do you think that DeSantis would be where he's at today if they actually had anything on the man? He's a decent human being, all things considered. None of us are perfect. But if they had some junk on DeSantis, they would control him. Florida would not be the bastion of freedom it is today. So DeSantis knows this needs to be fixed fast, pronto. There is no 2028 without a successful 2024, and I'm calling on you. Get active, vote, speak up, exercise your First Amendment authority before you have to exercise your Second Amendment authority. The Declaration of Independence, now I'm speaking back to chin music, is when the government is lawless, we have the real law. The Declaration of Independence is law. It is one of the most quoted and reused, rehashed, recycled, refurbished documents of all time. Even Ho Chi Minh, communist POS from Vietnam, used the Declaration of Independence to say that they had a right to be communist. He used it as a document to push communism. It is a legal document for freedom, if you want, or communism, if you wish. The right of the people to make the decision about how they shall be governed is up to you, me, us. It's not up to the government. So when the government's lawless, you and I speak up, First Amendment. And if that fails, we have the right and the duty to exercise the Second Amendment. And nobody wants that, and I am not calling for violence. But I'm saying that that is what Chin is referring to. That is the law. When the government is lawless, we have the real law on our side. Now, 22 minutes in on the show, Mr. Ooman. Let's have some fun. Let's get into some more super chat donation questions, etc. And we've got Darren Earp 1 with a $20 super chat donation. And that's that button right up there. And this goes in the cigar fund. Thank you. Darren Earp 1. Wonder if that's kind of like a Wyatt Earp. Anyways, they're missing an A, and I'll just be quiet right now. Hey, Darren Earp, thank you very much. I need a cigar. I tell you what, I've been out on the Florida bayous, dodging alligators, water moccasins, etc., over the weekend, getting in some physical training, some mental refreshment, and no manatees, but look out for the alligators. They are hungry in the state of Florida, waiting for, well, waiting to be fed. Cigar fund it is. Thank you, Darren. Okay, Mr. Ooman, where shall we roll next? And we've got Never Obey with a $5 super chat donation. Just your name alone. Never obey someone else. Always, and this is just my opinion. Always obey what you know to be right in your heart and your head. I'm not telling you to break the law. I'm telling you to obey. Now, you can follow instructions from the government, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're obeying. And there's a kind of a fine line there, I guess, is we need to be cognizant of what we're being told, mindful of what we do. Never make a decision that takes you out of the game. Play their game until it's time to play our game. I know that's kind of vague. I've got to be vague. But here we go. Never Obey says, breaking news. Trump would be sentenced to 4 years to the big house that's on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I tell you what, I would rather have him do 4 years in the White House than 4 days in a city lockup or a county lockup, Rikers Island. So be it. Send him to DC again. Look, I feel, this is my opinion again, just an opinion, that this country, we are in for a boatload of SHTF, whether it's Biden or Trump. But I would rather have Trump in the White House, in Washington, D.C., fighting the beast, fighting the Leviathan, fighting that liberal commie juggernaut of a monster, and keeping them busy up in Washington, D.C., rather than bothering all of us in the rest of the country. The fight is coming. The deep state, which is a real thing. The deep state is a real thing. It's not just a made-up name. It's real.
They want to eliminate what they call the deep state. The deep state is a cadre of professionals dedicated to honoring the Constitution, the laws of this country, and carrying out the policies of the Congress and the President. The deep...
That was Steny Hoyer, a Democrat from Congress. The deep state is real. They're not going to go away. All they have to do is outlast Trump once again. The fight has to be real, folks. If there's one thing we've learned, it comes from the unlikely place called, are you ready for this? Argentina. That's right, Argentina. It's in the southern hemisphere, South America, the southern part of South America, even more south than Brazil. The only thing that's more south, I think, than Argentina is fucking Patagonia. Now, Argentina, they elected a man with the nickname, get ready, the Chainsaw. Javier Milei. I'm going to pronounce his name properly because I should start pronouncing it properly. Javier Milei. He's got some big old fuzzy, funky looking lamb chops. The dude don't care. He is what's referred to down there as an anarcho-capitalist. In other words, he hates government. Big government, bad government, wasteful government. He hates government. He has slashed anywhere, the estimates, of 50 to 75% of the bureaucracy. Government workers, go home, you're fired. They're the only ones protesting Javier's move. He has eliminated bureaucracy, eliminated government. He's eliminated regulation. And that their currency, they've dropped, folks, from 300% inflation. Imagine that. This year, a McDonald's hamburger is $10. Next year, it would be $30. That's what the Argentinians have been putting up with. He has cut their inflation through his policies, so now it is down to where, well, it's the same inflation you and I are dealing with. But can you imagine going from 300% down to 10 or 12% inflation? That's the success he has had. Trump should look at what Javier Milei has done, and he should cut all the bureaucracy he can. Literally, FBI destroyed, gone. Trump should use all his political might and the power of his office to cut federal government. Done, gone, forever. Cut, done, gone. EPA, IRS, FBI, Department of Homeland Security. We have a huge overlap, multi-governmental agency control of the same topics. I mean, do we really need a CIA and an NSA, as well as the FBI and the DHS? We'll stop with that. Thank you, Never Obey. Good to have you on board now as a Prepared Mind contributor through Super Chat donations. And folks, your Super Chats, that pays for everything. It keeps the lights on in the bunker, keeps the tuna fish and the spam stacked high, and of course, it buys Glenn Levitt, it buys a cigar every now and then, just when I run out. But you guys, you are the best. Thank you for supporting everything we do here, bringing fact, truth, conjecture, opinion, etc. All right, Mr. Uman, where shall we go next? We are at 332 live right now, Sunday Night Live, and it's Dan Erickson with a $5 Super Chat donation. It's funny. I could speed read super fast. Dan Erickson writes, the presidential debate coming would be too bad. It would be bad for Joe. So Trump should have Ozzy Osbourne take his place so it would be fair. Listen, Ozzy Osbourne, right. Ozzy's mental acuity is probably on par with Joe. It's just, I really don't. Ozzy Osbourne. The man bit a head off of a bat at a rock and roll concert. And I guess that's better than taking a shower with your daughter when she's 12. Good God, what a fruitcake. I'm talking about the president, not Ozzy Osbourne. Now, The Democrats are going to want to say, no, listen, Biden is not going to debate that Trump guy. He's a convicted felon, right? He's a 34-time convicted felon. The president of the United States has no business meeting with, dealing with, or talking to a convicted felon. Oh, but wait a moment. Isn't the communist leader of Brazil a convicted felon? And his did not get overturned by any courts. He is a convicted felon and a communist. So, yeah, I think Joe Biden's administration does deal with convicted felons. But anyways, that would be their excuse. And as far as the rest of America goes, what do they know? What do they know? Hit that thumbs up. It is Sunday Night Live, your show. Make sure you're subscribed down below. Thank you, Dan. And share that internet address right up there. I want to get to 400 people live. At least. We need to get going, folks. We got to reach out and touch people and wake them up. They're waking up. Now what do they need? They need to hear from you, your friends, your family, co-workers, acquaintances even. It's like, are you aware of how many people are talking about this? Now, listen. Everyone I've talked to says, oh my God, social media, it's overblown with the news of the Trump thing and the American response. Whether it's Facebook or X, Twitter, or Instagram, or any social media, all platforms are just blown away with this verdict. But what's amazing is we all knew it was coming. We all knew that this was a setup. We all knew it was a sham. Yet we're still shocked. We're still surprised that it's happened, that it's come this far, that it didn't get stopped. It's because it is a complete, total screw job. All righty. Thank you. Let's do it. Mr. Uman, who's up next? And it's Warren Buffett with a $9.99 super chat donation. And that is amazing. Warren Buffett, the great investor, Mr. Buffett. Anyways, he says, for years, it's not Warren Buffett. He's the actual guy from Berkshire Hathaway, but this is Warren Buffett on the Prepared Mind channel. And he says, for years, I thought I had been preparing for the end of something beautiful. Now it seems that I am trying to prepare for the beginning is a long, dark, dangerous game that I'm forced to play. That's a very interesting statement, Mr. Buffett. For years, I thought I've been preparing for the end of something beautiful, meaning the end of our republic and the beginning of just SHTF. And truly, that's kind of how I saw it. I saw this as, things are crazy. It's going to get nuts. I've got to get ready to deal with the end of our country and this SHTF nebulous thing out there. But then I started asking, and this was probably 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, I started thinking, but what comes next? What comes after the SHTF country's gone? And that's where you're saying the beginning of a long, dark, dangerous game. And we're going to be forced. That's right. Day one, people start killing each other in the street. It's not over the next day. It's not over the next week. It's not over the next month. It is going to be a long period of time if it comes to violence. It will be dark, meaning a lot of things, grotesque, horrifying, incredibly difficult. There are going to be people desperate beyond imagination. Violence is going to be off the hook in many areas. By off the hook, I mean just rampant destruction. And it's going to last a long time. The danger, meaning it is going to be life-threatening. That's why I say food. Got to have food. I like the idea of having a year's worth of food, but you got to start somewhere. Have 1 month, and then 2, and then 3, and then 6, etc. Food, water, shelter, that's your home, that's your bug out place. Clothing, you have to, up north especially, you guys can freeze to death. But medicine is first aid kits. Medicine is prescription drugs. Medicine includes what? Antibiotics, folks. You've got to have antibiotics. They are available, or at least they were, through the preparedmind.club. There's a company out there that sells, I think, fish antibiotics. They don't like the fact that you can get them, folks, if you get an infection from a cut, from a stab, from stepping on a tree branch and having it go into your foot, a rusty nail, right? You've got a book on medicine, right? It's going to be mandatory to have good medicine, right? You're going to need solar power or some way to make power for yourself. The grid, if it doesn't go all the way down, will be intermittent. You're going to need communications gear for yourself locally at the very least. And if you can, get world band, get ham radio, something for communications. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be a dangerous game. And we're going to be forced to play it. It's not because we want it. It's because they're doing it to us. Thank you, Mr. Warren Bluffett. And thank you, first time super chat donation from Mr. Bluffett. Okay, Mr. Uman, where are we at now? Who's out there? Who has something to say? And it's Chin Music. And this is what he says. John, my situational awareness being what it is, don't think I missed it last week when I gave you $100 and you only took one shot. Drink up, Tiny. You got me, buddy. Semper Fi, LOL. Okay, Mr. Music, you are correct. And that was a great donation. And I would not cheat you or myself. It just might, well, let's just call it a prepared oversight, if you will. Anyways, my friend, I'll willingly take this 15-year Glenlivet single malt Scotch whiskey French Oak Reserve barrel. Like mother's milk, I tell you. Mother's milk. Woo! Anyways, situational awareness. I tell you, that stuff, it's alcohol, folks. I think that's another, it is another prep that you must have. At the very least, if you're not going to drink it, vodka is, it's an antiseptic. It's a number of things. Alcohol. You can give it to others as a bridge to friendship. It is an antiseptic. It's good for foot odor. It's good for pickling foods. It's good for a lot of things. But it is also a pain reliever. It's a sedative. It's also an antidepressant. Before there was all these drugs, even aspirin, before aspirin, there was alcohol, right? It is a pain reliever. It's everything. Make sure you're good with the alcohol. You've got plenty of it for SHTF, because I'm afraid the stores will all be closed and you won't be able to get scotch. You won't be able to get tequila. You won't be able to get your bourbon. You won't be able to get your scotch. So make sure you've got plenty reserved. And it will come in handy. You want to talk about able to make friends. Imagine running to someone in your neighborhood and say, look, we need to come to terms. Why don't we have a couple of drinks and talk about the problems here in our neighborhood and how to solve them? Because people are going to be scared. They'll need to come down a few notches. Come down a few notches and relax. Once again, alcohol being the sedative it is. All right. And that's not doctorly advice. That's just good old plain John advice. Thank you, Mr. Chin Music. All right, there, Mr. Uman. Where are we rolling now? And we've got, hey, it's Nancy Keg with a $10 super chat donation. No question, just a big Semper Fi, means always faithful to the Prepared Mind family. I'll tell you what. Now, this weekend I went out training in the bayous of northern Florida. Well, I had to travel into the south. Anyways, rivers. There are rivers in Florida. They're not like the American River or the Feather River or the Sacramento River or the Mokelumne or Cosumnes or any of those rivers in Northern California. Different kind of river. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Different kind of river. They're very, very slow and lazy, swampy ass rivers with crocodiles, not crocodiles, alligators. I think the Scotch is working. And I also met a lot of great, I call them swamp billies, country folk from Florida, not the big city types in Miami or Tampa, the big city types up in Jacksonville or Tallahassee. It was out in the middle of godforsaken swamps. And I had a hell of a good time meeting these people, yucking it up. Can you imagine I saw dudes with beards down past their chest, those pointy old Hatfield and McCoy beards. I heard accents I've never heard before on this trip. We're talking way back in the swamps. And it was good. They're good Americans. They saw me and I'm wearing, John type stuff. And they didn't have a bad word to say to me. I think we all just knew. But at the campsite I was staying at, where we decided to camp, right next to me, Marine. Across the other way, another Marine. Military, Army, Marine, Navy. Right? Even some of them Air Force dudes, right? We're good veterans, we're good patriots, and it was good to know they were right there. Anyways, how did I know they were Marines? They got the sticker on the car. They had it right on the back window, let you know who they are, and that tells you 95% of the time or more that they are patriotic Americans. All right, Mr. Uman, let's continue if we shall. Thank you. Semper Fi to you, Nancy. And it is Boomer21 out of Canada with a $20 super chat donation. He says, look, if they're capable of charging Trump over bookkeeping, they're quite capable of conjuring up a World War III due to existing NATO troops on the ground in Ukraine if all else fails. And that's just it. If all else fails, they can always pull that, period. Now, with respect to charging Trump over bookkeeping, Alan Dershowitz of O.J. Simpson trial fame. Alan Dershowitz is considered a constitutional law expert. I'm not a huge fan of Alan Dershowitz because I think he's a jackass. But at the same time, he is brilliant. Now, any good lawyer can mix law and their own version of the facts. So I understand, okay, he had to defend OJ, but does he know his ass from the hole in the ground when it comes to the Constitution and law? Yes. And he says, this is what Alan Dershowitz said. He went on mainstream media and said, it's a day after the ruling and I still don't know what the crime is. You said it's bookkeeping, Boomer. Yeah, it seems like a bookkeeping issue, right? But Alan Dershowitz says, man, what is the crime? And then he says that Judge Merchan, the absolute left-wing hack of a judge, he says that he took it a step further than Stalin did. Folks, Joseph Stalin killed half of his officer corps prior to World War II. Before we got to World War II, he was so paranoid. Stalin killed half his own military officers because he was afraid they would kick him out of his post as Soviet premier. Stalin used the courts. He used everything he had in a vicious, murderous, dictatorial move. The only one who has killed more people than Stalin, and Stalin killed probably 3 to 4 times more than everybody that Hitler killed, was Chairman Mao. He killed like 50 million of his own people. Stalin killed 40 million of his own people and other Eastern Europeans. And Hitler, he only killed 10 million. So, you know, he's a rookie compared to the other guys. Anyways, Dershowitz said, hey, Merchant took it a step further than Stalin even. And then he said this, and this was a big silver bullet. He says the Supreme Court should see this case and reverse this case. Now, in my opinion, this is beyond a miscarriage of justice. Even the 1770s, before, you know, the Declaration of Independence, they were playing games in the courts, star chamber courts, where you just got hauled into the court and they just made shit up. This is even worse than that because they're proclaiming it to have the semblance of law and fact, right? At least the star chamber courts had a semblance of law and fact, unlike these idiotic Democrats who are making shit up and lying directly to the people through mainstream media, and the people are buying it. The Democrats are eating this shit up. Eat it up. But this is beyond a miscarriage of justice. Even Democrats, folks, are very scared about what this means, what it means. And so what am I talking? What am I talking about? Well, let me tell you what I'm talking about. Even Mitt Romney, folks, is saying that this is a sham trial. It's a sham conviction. And he's calling it political malpractice. That's Rhino Republican Mitt Romney. But don't think for a second that Mittens My Kittens Romney is a Republican or a decent American. He's covering his ass with Trump by saying this is political malpractice. Well, it's political malpractice, it's legal malpractice, it's constitutional malpractice, it's a violation of the oath of office to do what they've done. But for Mitt Romney and Democrats that are opposed, like Senator Manchin leaving the Democrat Party, right? They know that if this sticks and stands, that if the Republicans get control, they can do the same thing, and they should. They absolutely should. The best way to learn, right? If your kid hits another kid, you swat him on the butt as discipline, not abuse. Discipline, they go, ow, that hurts. They go, what do you think it hurts when someone else does it? How many times have you seen a kid bite another kid? And we're talking toddlers. And then they say, now bite yourself, right? And the kid bites himself and goes, ow. It's like, yeah, that hurts. You don't do it to people. But listen, Mitt Romney, he doesn't want anyone to talk to or look into his Ukraine investments. He's covering his ass so he doesn't get in trouble. And we got a lot of CYA coming, period. Okay. Uman says, just like the filibuster came back to bite the Democrats in the ass, so will this conviction. Good, you bet. I tell you what, good. Let me continue if I shall. There's a Democrat, a no name you've ever heard of. Let me give you his name so you can say you heard of him. Representative Phillips, right? Representative Phillips. He's a House Democrat. He is called on New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who looks like the witch from The Wizard of Oz, except she's not green. He is calling on her to pardon President Trump. Pardon? I do not want President Trump pardoned. To pardon him is not what you think it means, right? Get this. This idiot lying sack of chicken poop Democrat said, quote, Donald Trump is a serial liar, cheater, and philanderer, a 6-time declarer of corporate bankruptcy, an instigator of insurrection, and a convicted felon who thrives on portraying himself as a victim. I found this quote to be mind-boggling. Is Trump a serial liar? Is he a serial cheater? like Bill Clinton. Wow. And a philanderer. Oh, you mean like everyone in the Kennedy family? Everyone in the Clinton family? Really? A 6-time declarer of bankruptcy. What does that have to do with anything? He has multiple businesses, multiple hotels, multiple organizations. They're all independent. And so, oh shit, things went out of business? Wow. An instigator of insurrection. There's no evidence to support that statement whatsoever. And a convicted felon. Yeah, in a BS made up kangaroo court, right? And then portraying himself as a victim? Really? That's what Trump does? He portrays himself as a victim? Anyways, this idiot, Phillips, wrote, Governor Kathy Hochul should pardon him for the good of the country. Now, I have a different take on this, and I think that's one of my strong suits, is trying to look at things differently. A pardon is not a good thing for Trump. It is not. Understand, the pardon doesn't throw the case out. The Democrats will always say Trump was convicted. He's a convict. He's a felon. And just because he got a pardon doesn't make him a blah, blah, blah. See, Trump needs not a pardon. He needs the entire case thrown out to demonstrate the weaponization and politicization of the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, the District Attorney's office, the FBI, Biden, Obama, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The case needs to be thrown out so that it never was. Not that he was convicted and then pardoned. You see the difference? Would you rather be convicted and then pardoned, or would you have that case thrown out by an upper court saying, that was a crock of shit? So once tossed, whether it's a federal appellate court, the New York Court of Appeals, once tossed, there's no conviction. There's no guilt. There's no lingering BS that could prohibit him from saying and doing whatever he wants. America, folks, has had enough BS from these Democrats. The sleeping giant, the people, has finally awakened. That's why I want you to share that internet address. The giant is awoken. And it would behoove the Democrats to stop their BS, but they are now committed. They have committed. They have sent their troops across the line. They're committed to lying, cheating, stealing, false convictions, using government power. They've weaponized everything from law enforcement to the courts. Get your popcorn, get your drink, and keep your Second Amendment handy, just in case. Just in case. All righty, Mr. Uman, where are we going next? We're rolling up on 1 hour. I want to hit 400 people live. Let's really make a great attempt, if we can, to get everybody here. And good God, it's Chelsea Polzine with a $49.99. That's $50 if you round up. It looks like I'm going to be having another Glenn Levitt 15, and I'm getting excited about this, folks. We have a lot to discuss on this Sunday Night Live, folks. So here we go. We're going to have another one, another taste of the good life as we watch what happens to our country. And I'll tell you what. Watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the bridge scene where the captain talks about the fighting spirits in this bottle. And they went down and fought at the bridge, and he told Tuco and Blondie, he just said, come and watch the spectacle. Whoa, thank you, Chelsea, for that one. She says, one more, John, great show. The show has just begun. We got another hour plus to get to the end, folks. Another hour plus, unless I fall out of this chair and crash on the bunker, right? Woo! It's crazy. It really is. Now listen. The mainstream media is trying to portray you me, everybody in the Prepared Mind Network, everybody who's patriotic, from veterans to sportsmen to plain old political conservatives, as wacko, deranged maniacs and screwballs. And it's backfiring. There's no evidence that we've lost our stuff. We have been watching very carefully. Ooh. And Americans are waking up and becoming alert to the dangers that we're being faced with. Folks, when when Saint Floyd of fentanyl died from a overdose at the hands of the police, cities burned. BLM, a Marxist transgender organization that claimed ownership of Black opinion. Antifa, a radical, violent, communist organization out of colleges, joined forces and burned America to the tune of $4 billion. Trump is charged with insane stupidity, no real crime. He was convicted of no real crime. A bookkeeping error, a clerical error, the fact that they didn't like, not one city burned. 0 cities burned over the Trump verdict, unlike the spazzes in the Democrat Party who claim that everything is an aggression against them, and therefore they have the right to go out and burn cities and attack police and assault old people, destroy private property, loot businesses, commit arson, right? Yeah. Crazy stuff, folks. Crazy, crazy stuff. But, Chelsea, that is not to say that there is a huge growing discontent among Republicans and Americans. Now, Grant Stinchfield says there is a brewing storm of revolution and it's upon us. Patriots are pissed off. He wrote this article and it was in the Gateway Pundit, but it's carried everywhere because it's Grant Stinchfield. See, folks, now average Americans are pissed, and average Americans know that violence may come. Look, and Grant Stinchfield is not calling for violence. He's saying violence is coming. Brewing storm of revolution. A revolt. Now, let me talk to you. What is the revolt against? Is it against authority? No. The revolt is not against authority. The revolt is against unconstitutional and abusive authority. There's a big difference. A constitutional, lawful government has nothing to fear from its people. An unconstitutional, unsavory, lawless government has a lot to fear. And we are now seeing just that. An unconstitutional, lawless government that abuses its people and is going after the one political leader that it fears most and has completely abandoned the law in exchange for lies. And the people see it. The people know it. Period. And the people are pissed. So the word revolution comes up. Not to be insurrectionists, but to say to the government, you can only govern us, not rule us, but govern us if you are lawful and obey the rules that are set before you. And folks, when this is all said and done, I pray to God that they put into the law, the Constitution, a constitutional amendment, not getting rid of the First Amendment, not getting rid of the Second, but a constitutional amendment saying, if you're a public servant, whether appointed or elected, you can be held accountable as a criminal if you violate the Constitution. You violate people's rights. If you are advised that what you are doing, trying to pass gun control measures that are unconstitutional, then you have violated your oath to defend and uphold the Constitution. See, when you tear down the Constitution, that's not defending it or upholding it. It's tearing it down. Therefore, you violated your oath. There needs to be a penalty for violation of one's oath. And it needs to be a constitutional amendment. A constitutional amendment so that any politician anywhere can be tried under it. That's just my opinion, but that's the problem. Whether at the local, state, or federal level, no one's being held accountable for failing to live up to their oath of office. It is not a good faith oath. It is an oath on the Holy Bible, which, of course, the Democrats hate. Now, Chelsea, I want to thank you for the great Super Chat donation. Pow! And I hope you feel you got your $49.99 worth. That scotch really hit me. Pow! Awesome. And it's working, folks. Thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber to the Prepared Mind channel, do it now. Make sure you subscribe below and share that internet address up there. It's going to get crazy, folks. It's going to get crazy. Not because we're crazy, but because, well, the wackos out there are completely out of their mind. Mr. Uman says we got some more super chats. Let's get to them. I got some crazy stuff to talk to you guys about, but I'm going to let you go first. And it is Darren Earp 1 again with another $20 super chat and another cigar fund and another big thank you and a thank you to you. I really appreciate that. You've got two $20 super chat donations in. So I think I'm going to tell you a little about Barack Obama. That's right. Barack Hussein Barry Soetoro Obama. That's right. Obama. He went by an assumed name, an alias. He came out, folks, from behind the curtain. And he told the world what Joe Biden's Palestinian-Israel policy should be. Now, I couldn't care less what Barack Obama said. I care what he did. He showed us, folks, that he's no longer hiding who is calling the shots in the Biden White House. Dereliction of duty, Biden? Worse? Just, if Barack Obama was a political advisor, Secretary of State, part of the cabinet, national security advisor, something, it would be acceptable. But the fact that this clown who's married to a clown can just come out and speak anytime. And folks, the Democrats love it. They absolutely do. They do. These left-wing people are nuts. Absolutely nuts. In fact, Mr. Uman, let's move on to the next super chat and talk about what you guys want to talk about. It is your show after all, and it's Dan Erickson back with another $5 super chat donation. And he says this: the real threat globally is communism, and the American people and Russian people know that. Now, in Russia, it is not a perfect state, perfect country. No country is. No country ever can be. It's just how close can you get? You need a couple of things. You need law and order, and you need justice. Law and order and justice, and a healthy respect for the people who pay the bills, the people. Now, the real threat globally is communism. Now, there's a twist to the communism, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, Mr. Erickson. The Chinese are a communist government. In fact, it's the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and their army is the People's, the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, right? They're freaking communists. Yet, in China, private businesses can operate and make a profit. The people can make money and well, improve themselves. That's not communism. That is fascism. But it's a communist government, yet they operate under fascism. So the communists have learned, and this does tie right back into your thought here. The communists have learned that their economic model fails because there's no incentive to work hard. So fascism, which is the other socialism, there's social communism and social fascism. The communists have learned that they need to incentivize hard work. So they allow the wealthy to keep their money. They allow them, not by right, but by permission. and the average person can improve themselves and live better. But it is still an authoritarian communist government. It just has a fascist or enriching monetarily angle to it. They're both socialism. It's all socialism. At any point, folks, the Chinese Communist Party could tell everyone, you no longer own anything. The government owns everything, including the money and the profit. See, that's communism. The government owns everything, but it allows, through practice, through its policy, people to become wealthy because it incentivizes hard work. So when we talk about global communism, Mr. Erickson, I agree 100%. The idea is total global communist control. But they're going to allow the rich people to be incentivized to work hard, right? So they can keep their money. You and I, though, on the other hand, what are they doing to us? They're screwing us. We pay a shit pile of taxes and they turn around and give it to illegals. We pay a shit pile of taxes and they turn around and give it to Ukraine. How many other countries out there overtax their people and then send their money to America? Name one. There is not one's money to the United States government to help us. Period. And we, the American people, yeah, we're starting to feel the global communism. Look, communism, socialism, it's an iron fist. But they don't want you to know that it is a hard, ruthless organization. So they put on what's known as a velvet glove, and they'll pet you with it and go, see, the government's here to help. See how we will pay for your medicine. We'll pay for your food. We'll give you some welfare. We'll do this. We'll do that. Feel that velvet glove, so soft. But it's just a glove. Inside is an authoritarian, totalitarian powerhouse that wants to crush you and me. That's what socialism is. All communism is socialism in a big hurry. Meaning they just go, you know what? We own everything. We control everything. We don't care. And they smash you. All socialism is, or all communism is socialism in a big hurry. Socialism will take decade after decade after decade after decade after decade to slowly eat away your rights, your liberties, your freedoms, and your wealth. Hello, America. That's where we're at. Thank you, Mr. Uman. That's where we're at. Is the socialism that has invited its way into the country, into government, is starting to take off its velvet glove with Trump and show us its true nature and character and goals. Global, communist, dictatorial control with rich people, the World Economic Forum, the Illuminati, if you will, benefiting for themselves because they will control the governments. So Russia and Putin, they know what communism is and how it fails. People of America, the last bastion of freedom on earth. Woo! Good sneeze there. Look out. All right, Mr. Uman, thank you. Mr. Erickson, I appreciate it. We're at an hour and 10 minutes in. It is time to do another super chat donation and see what's on your mind out there. And we've got Chin Music, and he's back with a $4.99 super chat donation. That's how you get on the board. Is make a donation. It goes into the piggy bank, and it keeps the lights on in the bunker and the spam and the tuna fish rolling. Now, where was I at? The scotch is working, folks. The scotch is working. Chin Music says James Comey. He's actually talking about James Comey, former director of the FBI under the Obama administration. It's such a joke to even say that. James Comey, former FBI director under the Obama administration, admitted under oath that Hillary Clinton committed a crime that has yet to be adjudicated. Just saying. The only thing that would stop someone else from prosecuting her, Mr. Chin Music, would be a statute of limitations. But I don't know, in the case of national security, which is the violations that Hillary Clinton was involved in, if there is a statute of limitations, and we are not at 10 years since James Comey admitted that. She had an unsecured government computer with sensitive information, classified information in her basement that was hacked by the Chinese. Just saying. Hillary Clinton erased 33,000 emails pertaining to her activity within the government. Sounds like a national security violation along with other federal laws relating to communications with federal level government employees. You're not allowed to erase them, period. 33,000 times. She's a 33,000 time felon in my book. And then she bleach bitted everything, meaning it got wiped, rewritten, to hide. So any forensic analysis of hard drives would reveal nothing. And then Hillary Clinton, one of the most awful human beings on the planet, took her and her staff's BlackBerry government phones, took hammers to them, and smashed them to pieces. So everything on their phones, government issued, government owned, the information on them was owned by the government, was destroyed. Another disgraceful felony act. Not just one, but an act for every time the hammer went down and smashed it. That's another felony. Bam, 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 bam. Right? Felon. Thank you, Chin Music. Pissed me off good. I can't stand that bitch. I really can't stand that bitch. Mr. Uman, where shall we go next? Let's see. And we got Boomers back with another Canadian super chat. $20. That's right. Our brothers to the north, folks, Canada, are in big trouble. And I wish and hope and pray that Canada is returned once again to the great republic. The fight's on up there, folks. The provinces are kind of like states. The provincial governments are trying to fight back against Justin Turdhole, who is continuing to be just that, a turd. So, Boomer says this. They'll try to put Trump in jail. They cheated on the last election, and they'll go through any lengths to maintain power. I agree with you 100%. And they will try to put Trump in jail. You bet. For not only is Trump going against the Democrats, he is also going against the New World Order, the NWO. The New World Order is an organization. It's a concept. It's a thought. It's an idea that's been around for hundreds of years. It was none other than George H.W. Bush who talked about the New World Order, 1,000 points of light, right? He admitted it. He talked about it. He brought it into the open. He made it mainstream. Other politicians like Joe Biden, John McCain, Senator McCain, and other government officials at the highest levels. I think even Barack Obama mentioned the New World Order. Someone fact check me on that. It is not a nobody organization. They used to hide. Right? The New World Order expresses its will, which is the will of the elite tyrants who have all the money at the top. They used to express their will through the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. That was exposed, and what happened? Well, they denied everything. You bet. Deny. There is no New World Order. And then, right, President George H.W. Bush talked about it. Then they started hiding. They got away from things like the Trilateral and then the Club of Rome, and then they started operating through the Bilderberg Group. And that became more predominant. It was more of the elite bankers, along with the elite media, elite government officials, secretly meeting at the Bilderberg Hotel, then other hotels all the time. That was exposed, and we were told that's just a conspiracy theory. And now they've come out in the open, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, out of Davos, Switzerland. It is a bunch of elitist scumbags, and they have told us exactly what they think. They have told us everything that you can imagine. Klaus Schwab wrote several books about the Great Reset. The mainstream media says, no, that's a conspiracy theory. There is no Great Reset. It's like, dude, the book is right there. It's on the shelf. You can buy it on the internet. Klaus Schwab, leader of the World Economic Forum, who's stepping down, by the way, wrote books on the Great Reset. What's the Great Reset? To take all of our money, to take our rights, to take our food, to take our property, our lives away from us, because they know better, the World Economic Forum. They told us you will own nothing and like it. Are you kidding me? They told us you will eat bugs. Protein from animals is bad, but we'll feed you bugs. Eat the bugs. These are evil people who are planning the next pandemic. Fact, 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 and fact. In fact, I just named a bunch of facts. So yes, Trump, right? Why would the World Economic Forum, why would the European Union, why would the Democrat Party, why would the rhinos, why would the legal system, why would the bureaucracy, why would the banking cartel all be against Trump if he was on their team? Why would they foment revolution when they could have Trump say, yeah, I'm for everything the Democrats are for. It's just I think, we should love America. He could be completely left. By left, I mean politically left. And we'd be like, okay, this is definitely a uniparty system, right? I don't believe it's a great ruse, but we're going to find out, like it or not. So I do believe that Trump, he is the enemy of these people because he is not playing their game. He just isn't. I mean, but some people are finding out. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Some people are finding out. And they don't like the fact that there's a big club and they may not be in it. But Bill Ackman, folks, he is a billionaire. He is a massive billionaire hedge fund manager. Okay. He has been a longtime Democrat donor. But guess what? He is setting himself up to endorse Donald Trump. Why would Bill Ackman do that? Well, that has to do with the World Economic Forum and the Democrats' view of, Israel. The fact that they're lawless. The fact that they're going after Trump. And if they can go after Trump, they can go after anybody. And Trump, if he becomes president, he is now authorized, based on what the Democrats have done, to go after them. So pick a team, folks. We said this a long time ago, you and I. Pick a team. You have to either be for freedom or against freedom, like the Democrats. Your choice. Are you for freedom or are you with them? I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of middle ground, right? I don't get to stand here and go, I'm like Switzerland, man. Don't burn my house. Don't mess with me. I'm Switzerland. I'm neutral, like they were in World War II. Sorry, there is no neutral. We're going to have a shitstorm, folks. And you're either going to have the shelter and protection of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, or you're going to have the Communist Manifesto as your guiding light. Good golly. Anyways, Bill Ackman and others are now lining up to say, you know what? I think we're going to support Trump because of what's going on, because of how they've treated anyone. Anyways, I've got a follow-up question from Darcy T. Can a convicted candidate still campaign for president? The answer is yes. All indicators are a convicted candidate, a criminal, a convict, can still campaign for president. In fact, there was some commentary that even if they take Trump before he has a chance to appeal everything and sentence him to jail for a year, he can be sitting in jail and be elected president. I don't think it's going to take that long, though, Darcy. I really don't. But the answer to your question is yes. I haven't heard anybody say otherwise. But I tell you, there's a lot of craziness out there, folks. There's a lot of craziness. Mr. Uman, let us move forward. I've got so much stuff to talk about, but you guys are awesome. And it's Mr. Skylight with a $19.99 super chat donation. And he has a great quote from none other than the great one himself, Genghis Khan. Khan! Wrong Khan, but still the same Khan. So, why would we quote Genghis Khan? Because he was, he conquered all of Asia. He conquered all the way up, folks, to Greece. He made it to the steppes of Russia. Just an incredible warrior king and administrator. That's why Genghis Khan, folks, is being quoted here. He says, the strength of a wall is neither greater nor less than the courage of the men who defend it. I'll read that again, and then I'll have some commentary. The strength of a wall is neither greater nor less than the courage of the men who defend it. The strength of the Constitution is neither greater nor less than the courage of the men who defend it. Just put the word Constitution in there instead of the wall. And instead of Genghis Khan, put your favorite patriot in there. Paul Revere, John Hancock, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. This could be Voltaire. It could be Abraham Lincoln. It could be Andrew Jackson. It could be any great statesman, because it is a very powerful statement. Without the courage of men to defend, right? A wall is nothing but an obstacle that can be climbed over or shattered. The Constitution is written on a piece of paper, which can be burned or discarded. It could be shredded. It could be painted over and retyped. It's just a piece of paper. So it relies on you and I to defend it, to keep it alive by proclaiming its that it is sacrosanct, that it is critical to the existence of ourselves as a nation and ourselves as individuals. The strength of the Constitution is neither greater nor less than the courage of the Americans who defend it. God bless you there, Mr. Skylight. That is a great quote for today, especially considering where we're at in this juncture, this point in time. Godspeed to you, Mr. Skylight, and Semper Fi. All right, Mr. Uman, let us roll on. We got a lot to discuss. And next up is Robert Hodges with a $5 super chat donation. And we, folks, got really close to 400 people live. Share that internet address up there at the top of the screen. Be sure and hit the thumbs up to tell Uman, not to tell Uman, Uman knows, to tell YouTube, right? This is a good video. All right, Robert Hodges says, why didn't Trump enact a trial by jury? He does not know his Constitution. Night of the Long Knives, will that happen in America for the good and sane? Trump to change the government for the good. No, Trump did not have a trial by jury because the judge instructed the jury. A FRCP 38 is much different than a jury trial. This is a very technical discussion here. And I don't think that this is the forum for it in so much as I cannot speak intelligently on this. There was a trial. It had a judge, it had a jury. The judge instructed them. In my understanding, judges always give instructions. They don't allow certain testimony, things that the lawyers say, it's hearsay or leading the witness, right? Things of that nature that we hear. And you see it all in TV shows that have law as part of it. But we are in a very precarious state. Trump has incredible attorneys. If he chose to go with a modified jury trial, why would he do such a thing? Judge Merchan had incredible latitude that he exercised. Above and beyond what a judge should do. What does that demonstrate? What does that show? Well, it shows that he did not act in good faith. And by the way, there's so many nuances to this question of, was it a proper trial? Was it a constitutional trial? We don't have that anymore. When you really get down to the nuts and bolts, in order for Trump to get a constitutional trial, he would have to do what, and forgive me for doing this callback way back, right? The freemen of Montana who were being tried, and they refused to allow a trial to happen with a fringed flag in the courtroom. They demanded a constitutional trial by jury. And they stripped and continued to strip and fight the government until it granted them a proper trial under constitutional law. The Freemen, look it up, folks. It's old. It's well over 10 years old since the Freemen battled it out with government in the courtroom. Trump didn't have that kind of time. What he wants to do, and this is my opinion, Robert, this is just my opinion, is he wanted to show the world how dirty, corrupt, and shitty the Democrats are and the current system we're operating under. So he held and agreed to this trial, probably because his attorney said, look, you're going to get screwed no matter what. So let's make it as fast and dirty and nasty as possible and get to a verdict so the people can reject it and we can get it appealed in time for the election. Okay, that's just my opinion as to why they took that approach. I know quite a bit about Admiralty maritime law. I know a lot about the Constitution. I know how we got screwed in 1871. I'm aware of all these things, but it is a very long, narrow, dark hallway to get back to true constitutional government and a true respect for our rights, not operating under the Emergency Powers Act that came in under FDR and public policy rather than law that happened back then. Okay, it's complicated. But what we can understand is Trump got screwed. It's easy to see. It's easy to understand. Okay, that's, I think, more important because it's easier to understand because that's the system that we operate under currently. So here we are, man. Anyways, great subject. There is an entire powerful avenue to understand, and you spoke to it. But the average American cannot fathom that because they have just now woken up. They're just now getting a cup of cafefe.com coffee, right? Because I'm a deplorable guy. And I didn't mean to just turn that into a commercial for cafefe.com. Right? Cafefe. There. You misspelled it, man. Or is that the new spelling they have? Anyways, right? Americans are just now waking up. They're like, oh, what the hell is going on to our country? They just now got a cup of Java and they're like, oh, okay, if I started throwing all this crazy nuanced, okay, you're not getting a constitutional trial. They'd be like, what do you mean there's not a constitutional trial? What do you mean this? What do you mean that? What do you mean the other? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? As things stand, people just look at it and they're like, They're just not waking up. And they go, yeah, I see it. I get it. Right? They're like, this is bullshit. They're waking up. Their eyes are opening. They're like, this is complete bullshit. Right? They're waking up. Parents are woken up to what's being done to their children in schools by these fruitcakes. Fruitcakes, folks. Fruitcakes. In fact, before we get back to the super chats, and we're 90 minutes in and we're still going strong, folks. It is now Pride Month for the fruitcakes. They get a whole month to celebrate their fruitiness. They need a whole month. Well, pro-Hamas protesters crashed and blocked the Philly Pride Parade. That's right, in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Only it's not the good kind of brotherly love. It's more of the butt pirate brotherly love, the fruitcake style. Anyways, the city of Philadelphia, their Pride Parade was confronted by pro-Hamas agitators, pro-Hamas protesters, pro-terrorists. Folks, these people are going to eat their own on the left. It is. This is crazy. Let's watch, folks. I want to watch the Sodomites get attacked by the Gomorrites, right? Sodom and Gomorrah. God wiped them from the face of the earth because of their filth. That's great to see the Sodomites being attacked by those from Gomorrah, right? They reap what they sow, and they're reaping the whirlwind. I'm really wondering, folks, because the pro-terrorist types, their idea of a pride parade is to march it to the top of the building and throw everyone off the building for being gay. That's not me, that's them. And they're all on the political left side, right? That's who these people are. They're fruitcakes, and they've lost their freaking minds. It's incredible, folks. But really, seriously, they're that fruity. Okay, I've got more on the fruitcakes, but I want to get back to your super chat donations, what you guys want to talk about. What do we got? Who's up next? Mr. Ooh-Man. And it's Message in a Bottle with a $5 super chat donation. He says, I'm thinking if I had you on my team, you might use up all the medical Smirnoff alcohol supply. Laughing my ass off, just razzing you. We love you. That's a good one. I tell you what, a lot of people think I'm an alcoholic. The answer is no, I'm not. I quit all the time for at least 5 hours a night when I sleep. And if I'm contracting with people, I'm not contracting and doing work while under the influence of alcohol. So clearly I'm not an alcoholic. Anyways, yeah, if I was on your team, you would be probably very surprised at who I am as a person. Now, I am on your team, though. I'm on everyone's team. If you love liberty, love America, love the Constitution, love freedom, love individual property rights, because that's what it's all about. You have to own yourself first. And then things that you own are sacrosanct to you. It's an extension of you. Your property is an extension of you. Your voice is an extension of you. Your ability to travel is an extension of you. You cannot be impeded by a government telling you where you can and can't go. You see the difference between freedom and the left? It's stark. It's stunning. It's crazy. All right, Mr. Ooh-Man, thank you. Message in a Bottle. Who do we got up next? Whoops, Jolene. Who's Joe? Oh, there it is. That's correct. Did Jolene mess that up? Jolene messed it up. It is cafefe.com. And they make delicious, real patriotic coffee. They've got a decaffeinated one called Sleepy Joe. I will not drink that one because it's one decaffeinated and I don't drink decaffeinated coffee. But they have some great roasts. And I like to roast the left, as you guys know. And I drink their coffee because I'm deplorable. Thank you again to you guys at cafefe.com for sending me more coffee to keep me going. All right, Mr. Ooh-Man, what do we have? Who's up next? And it's Johnny Coathanger checking in with a $10 super chat donation. And what's Johnny want to talk about today? What's he got on his mind? He says the World Economic Forum has the Utah plan on their site. It works. They have destroyed Utah and they are working on other states. I pray for a 40,000 degree sunrise in Davos. What is he talking about? A 40,000 degree sunrise? Well, you know, that just might be Russia sending over a message in a bottle, to call back to the message in a bottle. But I believe that the odds of Davos, Switzerland being nuked are greater if it's done by Ukraine than Russia. Why would I say that? Because the Ukraine military folks are a bunch of dunderheads. Right? They're a bunch of idiots. I don't trust them folks at all. But I do know that Joe Biden wants Ukraine to use American missiles against Russia. And not Russians in the war zone, but rather Russians way back inside Russia. And now NATO does or does not have, you tell me, does Russia have or not? Not Russia, NATO. Does NATO have NATO troops inside Ukraine? What if they get bombed by Russia for being a part and parcel to the war? Could Ukraine bomb their own NATO troop allies and then blame it on the Russians? Get ready, folks, for something to go fucking haywire over there, because that's what Joe Biden needs. The same way Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine said, hey, we're not going to have an election. We need to get things fixed around here. We got a few things to straighten out before I let you folks vote for the next president. That sounds really democratic, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like they're a republic at all. It doesn't sound like they're anywhere near even a democracy. They've got a little, and I mean little, peewee of a president. I'm sorry, a dictator. Oh, wait, no, a Führer. They have a little Nazi Führer over there. And anyways, thank you, Johnny Coathanger. We're going to see, I think, a nuclear accident. And I don't mean a power station, but rather a weapon coming up. I think that they're ready to do it. A nuclear weapon has not been dropped on civilians since World War II, when Nagasaki and Hiroshima were obliterated by nuclear weapons, or atomic weapons, if you want to be more precise. All right, Mr. Uman, where shall we go? And it is Dan Erickson back with another $5 super chat donation. And he says, so if Don somehow was sent to jail, would his Secret Service, United States Secret Service detail also go to the jail? Now, that is a very interesting question. The Democrats, folks, right now are trying to pass either legislation or get a policy change implemented stating that anyone who has the benefit of Secret Service protection can have that taken away if they are convicted of a crime. Convicted of a crime. Isn't it funny how the government wants to do something like that? Joe Biden has allowed our country to be invaded, even though now he's trying to send troops and people to the border to clean it up and tighten it up. Now he's trying. Yeah, a little too late, you freaking jerk off, Biden. But he's committed a great and egregious crime. I'm going to call it treason, folks, treason. He needs to be impeached. They should have at least impeached him just to get an impeachment on the freaking record. But I don't think his Secret Service detail will go to the jail. But I don't know how they are even going to pretend that this is lawful. It is such a freaking travesty, folks. Wow. Anyways, Dan, no. I don't think that his Secret Service will get to go into the jail with him, but come to think of it, I don't know why not. I don't know why not. He is still President Donald J. Trump. That doesn't change. The only thing that changes is how they want to apply the rules. But since we're not really following the rules model of governance, I guess it doesn't matter. Very good, Dan. Great question to bring up. Great thought, man. I mean, literally, great thought. You're thinking, right? We're thinking. Think outside the box. What the hell is happening and what are we going to do about it? Now, folks, Sunday Night Live. This week, we're going to get surprises coming right at us. There are going to be things said and things done that are going to blow us away. Get ready for it. Be mentally prepared, right? As Chin Music talked about, we need to tune in and wake up on the mental stuff. All right, Mr. Uman, where are we rolling? We have Dan Erickson again. Like to see you light one of those shots to make sure you're drinking real juice. Well, you know what? Uman says he lights one, I'll buy one. I tell you what, I am not prepared at all to light one. I don't have a cigarette lighter here in the bunker. See all that ammunition beside? I tell you what, next week we'll light them up. I'll pour one out. We'll light them up. I'll get stuff ready. I'll have to do a test one, of course, to make sure Scotch lights. I've never done that in my life. Never done that in my life. I've never lit. Well, what did we do? What was it? It used to be called Fireball. And pretty fucking dangerous to get a mouthful of Fireball or what's it? Lightning, white lightning. What was that shit that was like 190 proof, man? I can't read.
You're talking about moonshine.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was a specific brand.
It was like 190 proof. You just take it and you spit it in the air, then light it, and it goes up in a big ball of flame. I think they called it that. But
I don't know. Fireball is that cinnamon flavored whiskey these days, so I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I don't know if you can light it. I've never tried lighting, just having a shot and lighting the top of it.
I think
you have to have enough fumes, because it's the fumes that ignite, not the liquid.
Right, but 80 proof should light, I would imagine.
I doubt it would. I really do. But if you heat up,
put it out before you shoot it, so you don't burn your mustache off.
That's the fear, man. What if you've been drinking moonshine and you got it in your facial hair and you light it and then it blows back against you? Look, Dan, go on.
There's YouTube's on X about that.
There's lots of that on YouTube and Twitter and other things where jackasses go to do stuff and they light themselves on fire. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
No,
John is irresponsible, showing kids how to light themselves on fire. I can't have that.
No,
but I tell you what, Dan, I'll give it a shot and see if it's possible to light up a Scotch. But I don't do shots of moonshine. That moonshine does not agree with me. Anyways, man, I appreciate it very much. All the great support, Dan. Every week you're here with great questions, comments, and we can't do it without you and everyone else. There's craziness, folks, and my craziness here, right, is nothing compared to the craziness that's going on out there. All right, Uman sent you a question. There we go. Speaking of crazy, at UFC 302, the crowd went nuts. Why? Because Trump showed up at a UFC fight after being convicted, right, of fucking crimes, right? He decided, to go to the I got to get back on track mentally. Got thrown off my train of thought there, man. UFC 302, Trump went to it. He likes the UFC fights. The crowd started cheering, fuck Joe Biden. We want Trump. Fuck Joe Biden. We want Trump. Because they know, and I need this to be understood. The people that are fighters, the UFC fighters, in fact, one of them went and got a selfie with Trump and told him, he supports him fully. It's incredible. But fighters, folks, fighters want to fight. And that scares Democrats to their core, to the bone. And I think they're quaking, they're shaking, because Trump is bulletproof, not just with the UFC crowd, but with all of us, the voters. They're scared to death. Now, veterans of the military are fighters. That's why you sign up to defend and protect the country. So soldiers, sailors, Marines are fighters. They want to fight. They want to get in and mix it up. These UFC people are literal fist fighters. They want to get in and just beat the shit out of someone with their hands and feet. Well, and they do it for sport in the cage, but they have a fighting mentality. And so they're loud. We as fighters, as veterans, and also sportsmen, right? Just, you don't have to be a fighting champion, an MMA dude, but just a regular sportsman. You're a fighter. You go out and you test yourself against nature. You have the test of manhood you do, right? And you believe in the Constitution. You want to exhibit strength. That's what men do. What fighters of all genders do is you want that fight. You want to prove it. And that scares the Democrats to death. It does. It does. It scares them to their core, to their bones, because they know there are so many of us. And this country was born from a huge fight. A huge fight. They're scared, folks. They really are. They are scared of us. Holy cow, we're at an hour and 50 minutes in. and we're still going. I got just over 10 minutes to cover a couple things I wanted to cover. You guys got more super chats? I'll roll that way as well. As long as there's super chats, I'll stay past 2 hours. But it's really important, folks, to understand what the hell is going on with the left. They are not fighters. They're cowards. They're chicken shit. They only fight when they outnumber people. They only fight while they're allowed to win. But I've got this interesting story, right? They protect themselves. Remember, the LGBTQIA plus crowd, they are ultra protected. Ultra protected. Now get this, folks. A deaf transgender activist. Talk about ultra protected. Not only is he an activist for the left, but he's deaf, can't hear, and transgender. He's been charged, folks, not with murdering children, not with murdering regular people, but with murdering his own gay husband with a samurai sword. What a great track record these protected people have, right? They keep saying that they're the targets of genocide, but it seems more like they suicide each other as they kill themselves and kill each other. But sadly, yes, they also lash out at normal human beings. That's the cowardice that we're dealing with. Can you imagine coming home to your spouse who they've got a samurai sword and they're going to cut you to ribbons? Well, that's who these people are. We keep hearing that they kill themselves, kill each other in their relationships, kill their parents, family members, and then kill children. and Christians. They're incredible people. And we're supposed to give a shit? Wow. Folks, just wow. And finally, some companies are figuring it out. They're trying to scale back their Pride Month celebrations and advertising because they are fearing you and me because of our conservative boycotts. You know what that tells me? Once again, they're cowards. They're weaklings. And they're going to start hiding themselves again. Stop hiding, people. Don't hide. Stop hiding. Come out and show us who you are. So yeah, we can boycott you and we can vote you out of our lives by closing our wallet. All right. Mr. Ooman. What do we do? We got Warren Buffett is back with a $9.99 super chat donation. And this is going to be a good one. I can tell. I asked my friend, when you start with that, talk to a friend, or I asked my friend why I would need God in my life. He replied, because God is not for people who want to go to heaven. God is for us who have been to hell and never want to go back. Amen to that, says Warren Buffett. That's going to take me a second to digest. I'm going to have to read that again. I asked a friend why I would need God in my life, and his reply was, because God is not for people who want to go to heaven. God is for us who have been to hell and never want to go back. Essentially, I think Mr. Warren Buffett and his friend are saying, we see in life, what we're dealing with, a type of hell where evil rules, where evil acts the way it wants, where it gets away with causing all manner of suffering and pain and loss. I'm trying to think about this because I've never heard this type of thinking. This God is not for people who want to go to heaven, or a belief in God. But God is for those of us who've been to hell. And now we've seen, you understand what evil is, how bad it is, and you yearn for goodness. That's what, religion, if you will, or a Christian belief, if you will. It's about knowing what evil is and wanting to avoid it, never wanting to go back, right? So you've heard the expression, I think we all have, this is like heaven on earth. And I'm not getting all religious and crazy here, folks, but heaven on earth, what would that be about? What is heaven on earth? It is the absence of evil and the departation from hell, to get away from the evil and suffering and madness of hell. But look what we're facing right now, an incredible escalation in hellishness. When you've got these LGBTQ people on the street for a month telling everyone how they're proud of what they are. Folks, I know gay people. Okay, that's their business. But these pride people are throwing it in your faces and pushing it down the most innocent amongst us, children. That is pure evil. And to say that God's law doesn't matter, the 10 Commandments, that doesn't matter. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. They have now shown us that doesn't matter. The do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The golden rule, the Democrats no longer care about because they are doing unto Trump, and they will do unto you like the January 6th protesters, as they will, not as we would do unto them. They don't fear us doing it to them. A few of them are starting to wake up and realize they are in trouble, though. But for the most part, they couldn't care less. Their job is to do unto you whatever they want. And if they can maintain absolute dictatorial control, then they have no fear of retribution, of themselves being put in a hellish situation. That is to say, being held accountable. And this just occurred to me. That's what they're afraid of, being held accountable by man or by God. They don't want to be held accountable, so they deny God. They deny the Ten Commandments. They deny the Golden Rule. They deny it all, and they're doing what evil will do and has to do to try and maintain control. And so they're all in. They're all in, Mr. Bluffett. They're all in, Mr. Erickson. They're all in, Mr. Chin Music. They're all in, Darcy T. They're all in. They're going all in against us. And the most cowardly amongst them, like Mittens Romney, well, they'll ask for forgiveness and try and put themselves and play both sides to the middle. But there's going to come a day of reckoning, and that's why you and I need to be prepared. Need to be prepared fully and mentally as well. All right. Thank you, Mr. Warren Bluffett. Mr. Uman. Dan says it lights dimly on 80 proof. Just put a table drink coaster over the top to extinguish. Well, okay then. Let's do it. Well, next week, man, I'll light them up. Sure. There you go. $5 super chat. Next week, I'll be lighting shots and drinking them. You got it. Woo! You betcha. One shot coming. I don't have a cigarette lighter. We're not doing it today, but I want to test it myself for safety's sake. And I don't want to look like an asshole trying to light something that does not light either. So anyways, Johnny Coathanger says, that's a good start. Maybe there will be a samurai sword challenge. Yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny. Thank you, Johnny Coathanger, for your great support. Thank you, Dan Erickson, for your everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting thumbs up. Thank you for sharing the internet address. And Soft Kitty does a $50 super chat donation to wrap the show up with another Glenlivet 15 single malt Scotch whiskey, not on fire this week. But we will have some fun and continue, folks. And by fun, I'm not talking about lighting alcohol. We're going to have some fun this week watching the shit get crazy. And I pray and I hope that there isn't one of these wild super SHTF events like a nuclear weapon. But I do expect it to get stupid. Stupid. Soft Kitty, thank you very much. Semper Fi to you and everyone. Anyways, wow, mother's milk right there. It's been a long weekend, and the cumulative effect of that is terrific. Semper Fi to everyone. We're at the last of the show. Fuck, here we are. Chelsea Polzine checking in with a $49.99 super chat donation. Says she asks, didn't one of the UFC fighters say he will donate to Trump? Let me check. Uman, can you? Did I? No, Soft Kitty. Soft Kitty is the one I just had a drink on. So I've got to do another shot here. Okay. Well, do I take the shot? Or do I look up the answer? I don't. I know there was a. There's a lot of stuff has happened since I started the show, folks. I haven't looked. Apparently, Fauci has admitted to making shit up. Like we didn't know that. Jesse Waters. Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Okay, well.
Okay, I just found an article. It says Sean Strickland.
Yeah, that's the guy that took the selfie with Trump.
Yeah, he promised to donate to Trump after he won his last fight or something like that.
Okay, cool. Well,
so you owe this shot. You owe this shot, and the troublemakers are out now, and there's going to be more. We're not going home so early tonight.
Okay, well, I love the support. I'm going to sleep like a freaking baby. The Dallas Mavericks majority owner, I guess she's very rich, and also she owns a casino, I guess. Her name is Miriam Adelson. She is going to donate. The donators are coming out to support Trump. Good. They're growing a pair. They're realizing they're screwed if they don't. So Chelsea Polzing, this is to you for asking such a great question. Yeah, the donators are coming out. That's the important thing. They're realizing that, well, yeah, you should be afraid because there's a lawless government out there. But, I lost my thought. You either fight now or you're going to lose later. I'm sure that people like Miriam Adelson and Sean Strickland, we all know we're screwed. It doesn't matter whether you're a thousandaire like me. That's right. I got $1,000 to my name. Or whether you're a millionaire or an up-and-coming millionaire like these UFC fighters, or even a lady who owns a what are the Mavericks? Is that a hockey team? I don't know. I don't pay attention to sports anymore. Here's to you, Chelsea Polzing. Oh my God, I'm so screwed. Woo! God, golly. Okay, so. Oh, yeah. If you're a Republican, it doesn't matter whether you're a millionaire or billionaire. Trump's a Republican. They're coming after him. So everyone else, like Bill Ackman, was that his name? Bill Ackman? Investors, yeah, if you're conservative, they're going to come after you. You're not on the big team, right? It's a big club, and they ain't in it. And they're starting to realize it. I think John Hancock back in 1776 probably realized the same thing. He's like, you know what? I may be the richest guy in America, but I don't stand a chance if the king is going to come here and just start stealing people's money. Literally throwing people in jail. And so that's why they finally said, that's it. Declaration of Independence time. Because they knew they were not going to get ever again a fair shake from the king. Whoever the king is. All right, Mr. Oh, man. I'm okay. Starting to Fast Moving Waters does a $4.99 super chat donation. Thank you, Fast Moving Waters. I did Slow Moving Waters this weekend, and now my brain is starting to be slow. Yeah, Slow Moving Waters is Florida rivers and Mississippi rivers and Georgia rivers, very slow, alligator stacked rivers, unlike the American River in California, whitewater rafting. There's none of that. It was paddle boarding amongst the gators. Thank you very much for the super chat donation. And Jace 1701, thank you, John, says, you don't have to do the shots for me, John. I just wanted to chime in. God bless you and all the prepared minds here on the Prepared Mind channel, a channel of like-minded, patriotic veterans, God-fearing Americans, constitutionalists, people who love freedom and liberty, etc. And here is Jace's 1701 $200 super chat donation. Thank you, Jace and John. He says, I once heard, quote, nothing gets people running to church like the devil snapping at their heels. And John says, and I gotta say, as things have spiraled out of control, and they are right now, we're spiraling out of control, death spiral, right? Jace says, I have become much closer to God. He says, I'm clinging to my Bible and guns, which was an insult from Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro, husband to Michelle Obama. He said that we cling to our Bibles and guns. You're damn right I do. Because it's all we can really count on in this life. Now, instead of a Bible quote, I'm going to give you a Conan the Barbarian quote. Not crush the enemy, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the women. But at the very beginning, when Conan's dad is talking to young 8-year-old Conan, he says, you can't trust man or woman or beast, but this you can trust. And he points to the sword, the riddle of steel. Speaking of his, and this is it's a myth, right? It's his God. We have our God. And he is forgiving and loving, but he also says, let he who does not have a sword sell his cloak and buy one. There is your admonition to arm yourselves, to protect yourselves, and arm yourselves and clothe yourselves in the word of God as well, I will say. Because it is through a strong moral foundation that you will find your strength as a man. I think I said all of that correctly. It's getting a little hard. I appreciate Jace not making me drink the scotch on $200 worth, because I couldn't do 4 shots, much less really a whole lot more of anything. I'm very toasted. You guys, I love you all. We're checking out. And thank you again, Jace. You know who I am, and I know who you are, brother. And thank you very much. And I want to end on this bit of a story, and we can leave Jace up through the end here. This weekend, Tim Pool, and I have the news article up in front of me on the screen here so I can say the names correctly. Tim Pool was doing a live stream, kind of like this is live right now. And he had Laura Loomer on there. And Laura Loomer has been silenced and attacked and unfunded and defunded and everything else because she's very much not afraid to speak. Now I'm going to try and put 2 and 2 together here and come up with the number 4. She has been silenced all along about the severity of the problem it is we're facing. And if you had listened to her, I don't know, 10 years ago, you might think she was radical. If you had listened to her 5 years ago, you would have thought she's radical. She sounds radical. But here she is this weekend speaking with Tim Pool, who I think is a very intelligent young man who is seeing the trouble we're in as a nation and as a people. But she said she is calling for charges of treason which carries with it the high potential for the death penalty. So she called for treason charges and death penalty for those who have been guilty of a coup against Donald Trump. Now, Tim Pool ended his show. He ended the live stream with Laura Loomer because she talked about what the penalty is for treason. So I want to ask you guys a question. I know Americans are pissed. And I'm trying to, as Jen Psaki would say, circle back on the idea. The death penalty, it is a capital offense for treason. It is one of the penalties that can come in. You can get life in jail for treason, which is a crime against the country and a crime against the people. Or you can get death. She is not wrong in calling for the death penalty for treason, because the treason is threatening our country. Benedict Arnold committed treason. He is the most famous traitor of all time, especially in America, because he was working for the English during the American Revolution. And he was very high. I think he was a general. But he committed treason, right? It could have cost our country our freedom. And everybody who fought against the English, if the English had won, would be swinging from a rope. And maybe even drawn and quartered, right? Is it wrong for Laura Loomer or anybody to talk about treason and the penalty for trying to destroy our country? That's what treason is. It's an act of war against the country. And that's what the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans are doing by trying to bring our country down and destroy it. I think that we're spiraling out of control, as Mr. Jace has talked about. But here we are, folks. We need to understand the gravity, the seriousness of what is happening. And I think Americans are waking up. But rather than just jump right on the it's treason, let's kill everybody bandwagon, which is not a smart thing to do, we need to help those who are waking up fully wake up and see not just screwiness in Washington, but to see the seriousness of the consequences. Our republic, our nation is under attack from within. And yeah, Laura Loomer is ahead of the curve as usual. And Tim Pool didn't want to have his show go off the rails, I guess. Anyways, folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Semper Fi. Godspeed. Thank you to everybody. Spread the word. Get prepared. Get prepared. Get prepared. And know the 10-mile radius around you. God bless America. Semper Fi.